I graduated last June. It was supposed to be the best night of my life. The ceremony, the cheers, the pictures with family. It all felt perfect. But the memory I carry now has nothing to do with that. It started around 11:45 p.m. The graduation party had just wrapped up, and I was exhausted. My phone was nearly dead. I had a mild headache from the music, and I just wanted to go home. I lived about 40 minutes away, down a series of rural roads outside town. Not much traffic, no streetlights, just woods and farmland. My parents had left earlier, thinking I'd catch a ride with a friend. But most of my classmates were either staying overnight at someone's house or heading in the opposite direction. I didn't plan that part well. Then Tyler, a classmate I barely knew, offered me a ride. We'd had a few classes together, exchanged jokes now and then, but that was it. Still, it was late, and I didn't have many options. I said sure. His car was an older Toyota. Clean, smelled like cheap air freshener and fast food. He didn't say much at first, just smiled and told me to relax. I figured I'd text my mom, let her know I was on the way, but my phone had officially died. I told myself it was fine, I'd be home soon. We turned off the main road about 10 minutes into the drive. He said he knew a shortcut. I remember feeling a little uneasy. It was a narrow 2-lane road with no lights, surrounded by dense trees. Still, I didn't say anything. I didn't want to seem dramatic. We talked a little. Mostly small stuff, college plans, teachers we hated, that kind of thing. But then the mood started to shift. He asked me if I had a boyfriend. I laughed it off. Then he asked again, slower, like he was trying to gauge something. "Just curious," he said. "You're kind of cute." I felt my stomach tighten. I looked out the window, trying to play it cool. "Thanks," I said. "But I'm really tired. Long day." He didn't respond, just kept driving. That's when I noticed we weren't on any road I recognized. It was all winding, and there were no signs or houses. Just trees. The kind that feel too close to the car, like they're leaning in. "Where are we?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He shrugged. "Shortcut, don't worry." I pulled at my seatbelt and said, "I think we should get back on the highway." He looked over at me. Too long. "Relax. You're acting like I'm gonna kill you or something." I gave a nervous laugh. "It's just late. I don't want my parents to worry." He didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then, "Your phone's dead, right?" That hit me hard. I tried not to react. "Yeah, but I told them I was heading home." He stared ahead. "Still, kinda crazy how no one would know where you are right now." My chest felt tight. My palms were sweaty. I thought about asking him to pull over, but we were literally in the middle of nowhere. I said, "Can you just take me back to town?" No answer. I said it again, louder. He suddenly turned off the road. Not onto another road. Onto a dirt path that curved into the woods. The tires crunched over gravel and sticks. "What are you doing?" I shouted. He slammed on the brakes and turned to me, face cold. "You want to walk home? Go ahead." I froze. "Seriously," he said. "Get out. You're acting like I'm some psycho." I hesitated, then reached for the door handle. My legs were shaking. He laughed. "Jesus, I was kidding. Calm down." He backed up the car and pulled back onto the road like nothing happened. We drove in silence for a while. Eventually, lights appeared. The familiar shape of a gas station came into view. I made him stop, said I had to pee. He didn't argue. Inside, I rushed to the bathroom, locked the door, and tried not to throw up. My hands were shaking as I borrowed a charger from the front counter and plugged in my phone, 1%, then 2. I called my dad. He answered on the third ring. "Dad," I whispered. "Come get me." I told him the gas station name and begged him to hurry. Then I stayed in the bathroom until I saw my dad's truck pull up. When I stepped outside, Tyler was still in his car. Just sitting there, engine running. He waved at me, smiled like we were friends. I didn't wave back. My dad didn't ask a lot of questions. He looked at me, saw my face, and just drove. I never told anyone at school. Tyler acted like nothing happened, like it was just another night. We never spoke again. And the worst part? I still don't know what he would have done if I hadn't gotten out when I did. I'll never forget the night I almost didn't make it out of my dorm room after graduation. I had stayed on campus for the weekend because I was too tired to go home right after the ceremony. My parents lived 2 hours away, and I thought it would be easier to sleep in my dorm and leave the next morning. Plus, a few friends wanted to hang out late, so I agreed. The dorm was mostly empty because most students had already left for summer. The hallways were quiet, with only a few doors open here and there. That night, I was alone in my room by about 11:30 p.m. My friends had gone to a party nearby, and I wasn't feeling like joining. I wanted to rest and maybe study a little for a summer class I was taking. My room was small, just a bed, a desk, and a closet. The window was cracked open a bit to let in the cool night air. I could hear the faint hum of the air conditioning and the soft creaks of the old building settling. Lay on my bed, scrolling through my phone. Suddenly, the power went out. The lights, my laptop, even the little clock on the desk stopped blinking. I sighed. Power outages happened sometimes here. I grabbed my flashlight from the drawer and clicked it on. The hallway outside was dark and silent. I thought about texting my friends, but the Wi-Fi was down too. I figured the power would come back soon. Then, I heard it. A faint noise, like footsteps. Slow and soft, but definitely footsteps coming down the hallway. My heart jumped. I wasn't expecting anyone. I called out softly, "Hello?" No answer. The footsteps stopped outside my door. I held my breath. Then, a soft knock. "Who is it?" I asked, trying to sound calm. No answer again. I felt the hairs on my arms stand up. I switched my flashlight off, thinking maybe they wouldn't know I was awake. The silence stretched for a minute. I took a deep breath and decided to open the door just a little. Maybe it was a neighbor checking on the outage or someone from maintenance. I cracked the door open, but no one was there. The hallway was empty and pitch black except for a faint red glow from the emergency exit sign at the end. I leaned out to look, then quickly shut the door. The footsteps started again, this time from the other side of the hall, coming closer to my room. This time, faster. I slammed my door and locked it. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst. I moved away from the door and sat on my bed, clutching the flashlight like it was a shield. I thought about calling campus security, but my phone was useless without power or Wi-Fi. Then, the knocking started. Not soft this time. Hard, sharp, like someone wanted to break through. "Who's there?" I shouted. No answer. I heard a low, muffled voice say, "Open up." It wasn't anyone I knew. The voice was rough, almost angry. I grabbed my baseball bat from under the bed. I'd brought it with me for safety, just in case. The knocking stopped. The hallway went silent again. I held my breath, waiting. Minutes passed. Then a loud thud. Something hit my door. Then another. Then something heavy slammed against the door, shaking it. I was frozen, gripping the bat tighter. I knew if the door gave way, I'd have no chance. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on. Power returned. I looked through the peephole. No one. I unlocked the door slowly and peeked out. Nothing. No footprints. No one in sight. The hallway was empty. Quiet. I took a shaky breath and stepped out. I checked the nearby rooms. All doors were closed, some with lights on. No sign of anyone strange. I ran down the hall toward the main lobby. There, I saw a campus security guard sitting at the desk. I told him what happened, my voice trembling. He frowned. "We've had reports of a man sneaking around campus tonight, trying doors, looking for a place to hide." My stomach turned. He radioed for backup and told me to wait. I waited for what felt like forever. My mind raced with every possible thing that could have happened if I'd opened the door, or if the man had gotten in. Eventually, 2 more guards showed up. They searched the hallways but found no one. They told me to stay with them until I left the building. As I walked outside to my car in the early morning light, I looked back at the dorm. The building looked normal again, but I knew it wasn't. Because for those terrifying minutes, I was trapped with someone who didn't belong there, someone dangerous. And I'll never forget the sound of those knocks on my door. Even now, when I'm home, and the power goes out, I still jump at the sound of a knock. Because some nightmares don't end when the sun comes up. I never thought a simple text message could scare me so much. But that night, it did. It was the day after graduation. The ceremony was over, and everyone was excited for summer. Most of my friends were already on their way home or going to parties. I had decided to stay at my apartment alone for a few days before visiting my family. My apartment was small, on the 2nd floor of an old building near campus. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I liked the quiet. That evening, I was lying on my couch, scrolling through my phone, when I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. It said, "Congrats on graduating. See you soon." I stared at it, confused. I didn't know who sent it. I didn't reply. Then another message came, just a few minutes later. "Don't ignore me." I started to feel uneasy. I thought maybe it was some prank or someone trying to bother me. I blocked the number. I tried to forget about it and turned on the TV. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. The messages were coming from different numbers now, all saying the same thing. "Congrats on graduating. See you soon." My heart started pounding. I looked out the window. The street was empty, quiet, nothing unusual. I locked all my doors and windows. I checked the peephole. No one was outside. I thought maybe someone was playing a joke, but it felt more serious. Called my best friend Jenna and told her what was happening. She said to call the police if I felt scared. I decided to do just that. When I called, the dispatcher said they would send someone to check around, but they warned me that without proof, there wasn't much they could do. I waited, nervous. Then, the messages stopped. I thought maybe it was over. But around midnight, the power went out. My phone died because I had almost no battery left. I was alone, in the dark apartment, with no way to call anyone. Then, I heard a noise. Soft tapping on my front door. I froze. I wasn't expecting anyone. I didn't open it. The tapping stopped. Then, it started again. Louder this time. I whispered, "Who's there?" No answer. My mind raced. I grabbed my phone for light, but it was dead. I looked around for something to protect myself with and found a heavy metal lamp from my desk. The knocking got harder, more urgent. Suddenly the doorknob started to jiggle. My breath caught in my throat. I backed away slowly, holding the lamp like a weapon. The doorknob turned again, then stopped. The knocking slowed and finally stopped. I didn't move. Minutes passed. Then I heard footsteps down the hallway outside. Slow, heavy steps walking away. I waited another half-hour, too scared to do anything. Eventually, the power came back on. I called Jenna again and told her what happened. She promised to come over right away. When she arrived, I locked the door behind her. We stayed up all night, too scared to sleep. The next day I told the police everything. They checked the outside of my apartment, but found no signs of forced entry, no footprints, no one seen nearby. I tried to forget it, but the text didn't stop for long. Over the next few days, new messages came from different numbers. Sometimes they said things like, "I'm watching. You can't hide." Soon, I changed my phone number, but they still found ways to send messages. I changed apartments too, hoping the nightmare would end. But even now, months later, I still get strange texts from unknown numbers. Sometimes, I feel like someone is watching, me, waiting. And I can't help but wonder, who was that person knocking at my door that night? What did they want? And will they really come back? Graduation day was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, but it ended up being one of the most terrifying. I had just finished the ceremony and was with my family outside the school. We took pictures, laughed, and talked about the future. After a few hours, my parents left, and I stayed behind with a few friends. We planned to celebrate with dinner at a nearby diner. I grabbed my keys from my backpack and headed toward the parking lot. My car was parked in the back of the school, near the old football field. The sun was starting to set, and the sky turned a soft orange. When I reached my car, I pulled my keys out of my pocket, but they weren't there. I checked again. My backpack, my pockets, everything. No keys. I felt a cold sweat. I had just used those keys to lock my apartment door that morning. How could I have lost them? I told my friends. But they just laughed and said, "You're probably just being forgetful. Check around here." I walked back toward the school building, hoping maybe I had dropped them somewhere. I looked under bushes, near benches, even in the trash cans. Nothing. The sun was almost gone, and the parking lot was getting dark. The street lamps flickered on one by one. I started to feel nervous. I remembered the school janitor's office was nearby. Maybe someone found my keys and turned them in. I walked toward the small building, but it was locked. No one was around. Pulled out my phone to call my parents for help. No signal. I frowned. Usually there was good reception here. I tried again. Still nothing. The parking lot was nearly empty now. The cars looked like dark shapes in the fading light. I heard a soft noise behind me, like footsteps on gravel. I turned quickly, but no. One was there. I told myself it was just my imagination. I kept looking for my keys, moving slowly toward the main road. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. It was a text message, but from my own number. The message said, "Lost your keys?" My heart jumped. How could I get a message from my own number? I looked around, but the parking lot was empty. I tried to call someone, but the phone froze. Then, the screen went black. I dropped the phone. I bent down to pick it up. And the footsteps started again, closer this time. I stood up quickly and ran toward the road. The street was empty and quiet. I didn't know where to go. Then I heard a voice, soft, almost a whisper. "Looking for these?" I froze. I turned slowly and saw a shadow moving behind a car. I couldn't see the face, but the figure held something shiny in one hand. My keys. Relief mixed with fear. I stepped forward and said, "Thank you. I've been looking everywhere." The figure didn't answer. Then, the person stepped into the light. It wasn't anyone I knew. The face was pale, and the eyes were cold. I took a step back. The figure smiled, but it wasn't friendly. It dropped the keys on the ground and said, "Don't Lose them again. I didn't wait to hear more. I grabbed my keys and ran to my car. I locked the doors quickly and sat inside, shaking. My friends heard me screaming from the road and ran over. I told them what happened, but they said I must have imagined it. That night, I kept my doors locked and didn't sleep. The next day, I changed the locks on my apartment. But sometimes when I'm alone, I swear I see that shadow watching from the distance, waiting. And I still don't know who that person was, or what they wanted. After graduation, I decided to drive home alone late at night. Most of my friends had left early, and my parents couldn't pick me up until the next day. I was tired but glad to be heading back. The road home was a 2-lane highway that cut through the countryside. It was quiet and dark, with only my car's headlights cutting through the night. I was on the last stretch, about 30 minutes from home, when I saw a figure standing by the side of the road. At first, I thought it was just someone waiting for a ride or maybe a lost traveler. But as I got closer, I realized it was a young woman. She looked scared and tired. I slowed down, thinking about stopping to help. My parents always told me to be kind to strangers. But then, a small voice in my head warned me to be careful. I kept driving. A few seconds later, I saw her step closer to the road, as if she wanted me to stop. I debated. Should I stop? What if it was dangerous? I glanced in the rearview mirror and suddenly, I saw a dark car behind me. It was close and moving fast. My heart pounded. The woman on the side of the road looked at me with wide eyes, almost pleading, slowed down more, unsure what to do. The car behind me flashed its headlights and honked loudly. I felt trapped. The woman suddenly stepped onto the road, waving her arms. I stopped. The dark car pulled up behind me and blocked the road. The driver's window rolled down. I couldn't see the face clearly, just a shadow. I locked my doors. The woman ran to my passenger side and knocked on the window. She looked desperate. "Please," she said softly. "I need help." I hesitated. The car behind me beeped again. The woman's eyes flicked to the dark car, then back to me. "Please," she repeated. I unlocked the door slowly and let her in. The moment she got inside, I felt a strange chill. She was quiet and didn't say much. I started to drive again, keeping an eye on the car behind. It stayed close. Suddenly my phone buzzed. I glanced down, a message from an unknown number. "Don't trust her." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I looked at the woman. She smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Who sent that?" I asked. She shrugged and said nothing. The dark car sped up and pulled alongside us. Its windows were tinted, but I could see a man's silhouette inside. The car tried to squeeze us off the road. I swerved to avoid it and almost lost control. The woman reached over and grabbed my hand. Her touch was ice cold. "Stay calm," she whispered. I felt my heart racing. The dark car pulled back and sped ahead. I took a deep breath and tried to focus on the road. We drove in silence for a few minutes. Then, the woman said quietly, "They're after me." I looked at her. "Who?" She didn't answer. Suddenly my headlights caught something on the side of the road. A backpack. I pulled over and opened it. Inside were IDs, papers, and a photo of the woman. But she looked different, angry and scared. Then I heard footsteps, behind us. I turned, but no one was there. I closed the backpack and locked the car doors. The woman looked out the window nervously. I wanted to ask more questions, but something didn't feel right. Finally, she said, "I'm sorry I got in your car. You should get away." I nodded. I dropped her off at the next gas station. She didn't say goodbye. She just walked away quickly. I watched her disappear into the night. I got back in my car and started driving home. The road was empty again, but my phone buzzed one more time. A message from the same unknown number. "You're next." I looked around. The night felt colder. I drove faster, but I knew this wasn't over.